We just got a season opener tonight.
Right. It's your voice.
All right, we're ready to roll. Okay. We'll go ahead and get started. Georgia Tech head coach Geoff Collins looking ahead to Saturday's ACC finale against Boston College. Coach, if you want to open this up with some remarks before we take questions.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys coming down Saturday to Miami, watch our kids play really, really hard. Talked a little bit about after the game, some of the things, and a lot of times in the heat of the moment, just knowing everything that goes into it. Obviously, when you watch the tape, go through, see the things that we could have improved on to create a little more margin for ourselves in such a close game. Met with the guys Monday morning, had a tape ready. The whole theme of going into the week was big-time players make big-time plays. And those of you who were there, those that watched on TV, there were some big-time players making big-time plays for us. Showed the turnovers that we got, the fumble 6 that Jalen King got, the 2-point conversion that Wanye reversed and went and scored for us, and just the effort from Zamari Walton, Sylvain on that play, and obviously Wanye on that play was great effort as well. So showed the big-time players making big-time plays, the explosive plays that we had on offense, showed those, and then showed the critical penalties that ended up hurting us. We had 2 big third down stop penalties that continued drives that ended up leading to points, and those are crucial. So showed the guys, it was good coverage, it was good pressure, it was no gain. We should have been off the field, but the penalties got us in extended drives, and that cannot happen. When we're playing this close of football, you've got to make sure we're creating margin, not eliminating margin for ourselves. One of the biggest penalties of the day was on the kickoff return. We're up by 1. Jameer gets it out to the 40. The kickoff return team and Jameer get it out to the 40. We had a penalty called on us, took the ball back to the 12. We ended up punting from there. Henry Freer, who has stepped up in Cade Long's absence just admirably. He had a lot of great plays on the day, the week before as well, and just really proud of his contributions. But that drive, David Shanahan made a very athletic, headsy play to get the ball out to the 50, but then that drive ended up leading to the go-ahead score. And so we talked about how penalties hurt us, and you can't have penalties in opportune times. And then the other piece was the 2 big pass plays that got us. One was a 3rd and 12 stop, had miscommunication, and they ended up scoring on us on a 3rd and 12. Should have been a stop, but they ended up scoring on that play. And then the first play out of the half, the flea flicker, showed that to the entire team earlier in the game. They did a nice job digging out our safeties, and we spent a lot of time crack, replace. Then they cracked and then shot down the pipe. Really good execution by them, and that was the story of the game. So we did have a lot of big-time players make a lot of big-time plays. They had the attitude, they had the mindset to go down there and play at a high level, and they did. But just a couple of key plays ended up hurting us in the end. Players of the week for us, J.P. Mason on offense. Just words can't describe my feelings, my respect for J.P. Mason, who he has become in this program. He's now moved to 13th on Georgia Tech's all-time list as a running back, but that shies in comparison to what he means to this program, who he is, the process that he's embraced, and what he's turned into as a person and a leader in our program. Wanye Thomas was the defensive player of the week for us, played at a really, really high level, did it the right way with preparation, and then just a big-time player making big-time plays. He was also the ACC defensive back of the week. And then special teams, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs is a big-time player. He's now 3rd nationally in all-purpose yards, which is pretty impressive, and he does it the right way. He's a selfless teammate. He is a hard worker, gifted player, obviously, but just who he is as a young man, who he is as a teammate, is really, really special. And then another name to mention, too, is Jaquez Jackson. It was arguably his best week as a leader, as a teammate, energy giver, flew around, was making plays all over the field. He's now 6th in the country in tackles, and he's done it the right way through the process and all those kind of things. Last thing I'll hit on before you ask questions, we had some developmental players of the week. James Blackstrain, again, just keeps coming along in this program as a receiver for us. Will Milam, Joe Fusel, 2 walk-on offensive linemen. Obviously, there's been a lot of injuries along the offensive front, and that compounds the effect on the developmental team, and what those two and that entire developmental O-line is impressive. So Will Milam and Joe Fusel, and then defensively, Sarad Bryant. I don't know if anybody noticed, he made the trip. He made the plane ride down to Miami, and it's all because he's earned it. He practices really hard every single day. He just keeps maturing and maturing, learning how we do things, and actually cracked the depth chart on special teams, and he'll do that as well this week. And then Gray Carroll and then Connor Mack were the other 2 developmental players of the week. So got a really good team coming in here. Boston College got their quarterback back. He's a really good player, but they're really good across the board offensively. Have a very layered physical run game. Then they layer it with all kinds of multi-layered passing game, and the quarterback is really, really good. So we got a ton of respect for them. And then they play really good defense and really good special teams. So tremendous amount of respect for them coming into Bobby Dodd on Saturday.
Okay, questions? Please raise your hand. Got a microphone. We'll start over here with Rob.
Jeff, you talked about the injuries along the offensive line,
Yep.
and after the game you mentioned Franklin having to
Yep.
play and get some reps for the first time this year. What did you see from him, and moving forward, is he a guy you want to see maybe get increased reps to finish out the season?
Yeah, of all the positions to play as a true freshman, offensive line is arguably the hardest position in college football to play as a true freshman. Then the hardest position of an offensive lineman to play as a true freshman is center. So he is in both of those categories, and he did a really nice job with it. Obviously, the snaps were a little bit, he was getting them better, but there's something, first time they've got a really good player lined up right over him as well. But we think Weston Franklin is going to be a big-time player in this program. And I think you can mention Ja'Kiah Leftwich, Wing Green, Paula Tuve-Vapulu stepping in, ready to play in the 2 deep right now. And, they've got such a good culture in that room. Ryan Johnson, Devin Cochran, as leaders of this program, leaders of the offensive line, have done a great job molding Weston and Ja'Kiah and Wing and Paul and the young offensive linemen to get them ready to step in and play. So it was Weston's first significant reps, and thought he competed admirably, and he's going to be really good.
Kelly.
Setting aside Kyrick, who's been really good for you, brought in 3 transfer linemen, right?
And what was
Nick
the first
Penley.
thing you said, Kyle? I didn't hear the very first thing you said.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was setting aside Kyrick, who's had a really good year.
Kyrick,
and Devin,
yes.
yeah. But you brought in KJ, Kirby, and Nick Penley,
Yep.
and then Keon on defense.
Yep.
And those guys have basically not been able to play very much for
Yep.
you. How much of an impact has it had on the season? Just, I mean, you got in a situation where you had a freshman left guard and a freshman center in the
Yep.
game, and you had to play Josh Robinson and Noah, young
Yep.
defensive ends this year. Can you kind of talk about where those injuries have kind of impacted your team this season?
And I think just across the board, injuries affect you regardless throughout a long season. But Nick Penley, KJ Kirby, we're showing really good signs of being really good players in this program. Nick, I think, started 2 games or played significant amounts of reps in 2 games, and really excited about him. Unfortunately, had some injuries, but we still think he's got a chance to be a really good player in this program. It's unfortunate for Kirby that it's his last year, but he's been a great person to have in the program. Keon, obviously, you can see him every day, just the way he works, the way he prepares, the way he practices when he gets to, and we're getting more and more and more. He got his first significant reps against Miami on Saturday. But obviously those are three guys that are really good players that aren't playing. But the young guys, I think Mike's got some kind of stat in here about the youth that we have in our program, the youth that's playing. And, you guys know I'm going to look on the bright side and the positive side. There's a ton of young guys having to play, but they're getting to play and getting experience and playing highly competitive football against good teams. So I'm going to look on the positive side. Obviously, you don't want to have injuries, don't want to have those guys out that could be key contributors. But as we build this program and take the next step, the only way to get experience is to go out there and do it. And all of these young guys are getting to do it. You were saying something about Jeff Sims is still in his second year and is what on the all-time passing list? So, right, he's young. He's 9th on the all-time passing list at the Institute. There's a lot of history, a lot of tradition, a lot of great players that have come through here. Jahmyr Gibbs is still young and, I think has stamped himself as one of the best players in college football and, continues to be great teammates, hard workers, and all of those things. So we just continue to build, continue to stay positive, and continue to work and try to find a way to create margin. So not only are we going from lopsided games to now we're in close games, but now we've got to push it. I'm sure Ken's going to ask about that coming soon, is how we can push that to be on the other side of those close games and then even widen the margin even further. And you do that by gaining experience and going through some turmoil, but staying positive as you go through it and come out the other side. Sorry for the long answer, Kelly.
Pretty close. So I'm curious, just kind of a big picture question. Yep. How important is it to get another win or more to show progress? I mean, obviously, I think you can see things happening.
So I think if we're showing progress, Ken, I think the team that you see out there competing every single week, we've grown, we've developed. I think it's obvious the growth and development in this program. If you can't see how much we've grown, how much we've developed, you don't want to see it, right? So they're getting better, they're competing. We have to find a way to win these close games. We want to win every game, and obviously having Boston College, a really good ACC opponent coming into town, the focus is to go play the game the right way, win the game. That is the focus, but we understand that they're a really good team. They have those same motives as well. How do we make sure we can control what we can control and play at a high level and execute against a good opponent?
Randy?
Most anybody who's coached for any length of time has encountered stretches of adversity. What have you learned about conveying a sense of urgency to your players without that fine line of creating panic?
Right. Well, the thing, that's a well-framed, you said he was good. Well-framed question. It was actually, hey, you all couldn't be out here, the message I just gave them. Met with the guys afterwards and talked a little bit, alluded to as you get to the end of your career as a player, the Devin Cochran's, Ryan Johnson's, Kyra McGowan, the clock, it starts, you see the end of it, and there becomes a sense of urgency. And I just told them out there after practice, that sense of urgency in your preparation, in your performance, in how go about your daily life, your daily process, it has to be there at a young age so you don't get to the end and you have to start accelerating it. Here's the process works, work the process, and don't wait until the end to try to ramp it up. And so that's the thing we convey at all times with the guys is have an urgency in your preparation, have attention to detail, all of those things, and don't wait until it gets to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice or toward the end of your college football career to now figure out how to turn on the switch. And, we've got some tremendous leaders in this program that are showing these young guys how to do it when they haven't had that in the past here. And it's good for a lot of these young players who are having to play a ton to have leaders and mentors to teach them the right way to do it.
Rod?
When you look at the college game now with kickoff returns, it's almost commonplace now that teams just, take the fair catch start on the 25.
Yep.
But you look at a player like Gibbs, he has that capability maybe
Yep.
to break one. What are you seeing from your return game as far as blocking,
Yep.
aside from those penalties?
Yeah, but I think it's gotten better and better and better each week. One of the hardest things, I've said it before, one of the hardest things in college football is to run back 30 yards with another guy running as fast as he can down the field, and you've got to block him. And just week to week to week, just cumulative reps, the guys have just continued to get better. There's a lot of young guys on special teams, but we've got bigger, faster guys that are on that unit now that are able to execute those techniques, and they all understand that the dynamic playmakers that we have back there, and you see them pop off, and just some of the penalties. I think we even had one in this game last year where Jameer pops one for a touchdown, it gets called back for a penalty, and that's just the growth, maturity, and development to do that. So
Kelly.
You guys shut Jameis down. I imagine it looks like he'll have an opportunity to redshirt now. Kind of, can you talk about how you approach that process with a guy who's played
Sure.
some to,
Yep.
to
And then-
maybe maximize his eligibility?
Yep, and then too, just you'll might see number 6 Saturday, and just really good conversations, trust with our guys, communication with our guys. But I think we'll hopefully get to see Jameis on Saturday. He's been an unbelievable teammate this entire season. We've got a great running backfield, and just the way they vibe together, they work together, they pull for each other, and Jameis is very integral in all of that. And so.
Ken?
You mentioned the penalties. You've been doing really well for
Yep.
most of the season.
Yep.
I think it's 15 the past 2 games. Is that a blip, or is it something you see that concerns you that we've having to be more?
No, I think there's, obviously we address every single one of them. If you guys go walk through the building right now, every single penalty from Saturday is every single plate there. I mean, you can't turn in our building without seeing the penalties. So the emphasis is still there. The awareness is still there. And the educational piece on every single one of them is there. And obviously, the ACC officials do a great job communicating with us. So there's certain things that I'll send in just to get greater clarification, and so that we can educate our guys. And it's really beneficial. The communication piece, the transparency piece has been really good with the league. And so obviously, if we ever had any questions, we send it in. What could we do better? How could we coach this better? Give us some more details. Some of them, like on the kickoff return, right? It happened, and let's not make those kind of decisions again. But some of them are, combat penalties where we're competing and a hand gets outside or whatever, or a hand slides up. So we address those. We talk through those. But the guys, our players, have been awesome with it, and the communication piece from the league has been really good too.
Time for a couple more. We'll start with Rod. Kelly. Rod.
Geoff, the punting game plays a big role in field position. What are you seeing from David as far as maybe some of the problems with, he obviously has a strong leg, but he's had some inconsistencies.
Right, and he's his own worst critic, and he is. Have you guys gotten to know him yet? Right, great personality, self-deprecating humor, and I won't. Somebody asked the other day. I'm not gonna. It was really good comedic response into some of the things that he wants to get better at. So just his approach to it, getting better, working with Coach Pop every single day, and he's got a really, really strong leg. So we'll just keep working with him. He's really good, and so we're not panicked. We're not worried, to use Kelly's analogy. He's a really good player, and he'll just continue to get better. He's a true freshman from Ireland that's playing college football with people running at him for the first time, wearing shoulder pads and wearing helmets, and just really proud of him, and so glad he's a part of this program, and he's got a high level of expectation for himself, and he's just going to continue to get better and better and better. And I think in the next year or two, he's going to be one of the top punters in college football. So,
being still young on the defensive line,
yep.
it seems like you guys are not getting a lot of holding calls going your way against offensive lines. There's a particular photo that sticks out in my mind from Saturday where one of your players is in a headlock by a Miami player. Another guy has like his jersey pulled down where his chest's out. Just how do you – is that a thing where guys can learn how to maybe demonstrate it more demonstratively in front of officials, or is there just not being called on the inside as much anymore? Or kind of keep your finger on that?
Yeah, we're just going to put the ball down and play. We're going to play hard. We're going to play with great effort. We're going to roll guys in, and we're going to do what we do. And just really proud of Marco Coleman and Larry Knight, how they've recruited, developed our defensive front. And obviously they're young, but they're playing pretty good. And we'll just continue to work them and keep getting better every single week, and keep playing.
The two big plays you mentioned, the flea flicker and the 3rd and 12 pass,
yep.
obviously were busts, and probably some eye discipline there. Overall, were there other instances of that happening, or how did you?
So no, those two plays in particular, right, were one was an execution of one of our stack man principles that got miscommunicated in the heat of the moment on 3rd and 12. Right, obviously you don't want that to happen, but it happened. And then the flea flicker was a crack and replace. They executed it really well. Some of the other pieces were just leverage pieces, and I just got to continue to emphasize it, focus on it. If you're supposed to play inside leverage, do not get beat inside. If you're supposed to play outside leverage, do not get beat outside. It's a base core fundamental of how we play pass defense here that's been really successful for a long time, and just making sure we're constantly emphasizing that, embracing it, and making sure that you're playing with the proper leverage, using your proper help, all of those things. But we've got really good players on the back end that when they play with eye discipline, they're all on the same page, and playing with leverage, they're really good. So we'll continue to keep reinforcing that down the stretch.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay. Thanks, guys.